With the first pick, he's the number one pick in the draft.
In advance of July's MLB Amateur Draft, it's time to celebrate the athletes and look ahead. It's the edition that we most covet. It's the Mock Draft, the 2025 Amateur Draft. Alongside Scouting Director Vinnie Cervino, my name is Darren Sutton. Glad to have you with us. Vinnie, we love doing this show every year. We come into your office with all of your scouts, and then we give you the decision-making ability. I know it's a labor, but is it a labor of love for you, this mock draft?
Absolutely, Darren. You know, I'm happy to be here. This is kind of one of the consequences of the new date of the draft, is that it runs into kind of scouting that next crop of athletes and players that we've seen for so long. But I absolutely love doing this. This is one of my favorite events, one of my favorite pieces of content we push out a year, and I'm ready to dive in with the Nationals.
So here's what I'd like to do before we go to the Nationals. Give me 3 or 4 candidates to be number one. You're going to have your number one pick, but give me 3 or 4 candidates that you've heard through the grapevine could be number one.
I think if you're looking kind of at a big 4 right now, I think it probably starts with Ethan Holliday on the high school side. Obviously, the younger brother of Jackson, who was the 1-1 pick a couple of years ago. Matt Holliday's 2 sons. And when you go on to the college side, I think kind of the main candidates there are probably the 3 left-handed pitchers. Cade Anderson at LSU, Jamie Arnold at Florida State, and Liam Doyle at Tennessee. All of those guys are kind of still in the mix. As of this recording, we're still probably about a month out, so things are going to get a little more whispery, a little more buzzy as we get closer to that draft date. But I would say those guys, and then maybe Oregon State's Iva Arquette are probably your main kind of candidates for this number one spot right now.
Oh, look at Arquette jumping into the room. That was a great accidental mention by you. Well done. All right, the Washington Nationals have been waiting a long, long time. Please represent the nation's capital on the baseball side and make the mock number one pick.
So in this draft, the Nationals are going to select Ethan Holliday with the number 1 overall pick. Kind of the consensus top prospect on the board right now. Obviously, as I mentioned before, the younger brother of Jackson with the Orioles, the son of Matt, the legendary outfielder for the Rockies, Cardinals, Yankees, among others. Ethan is a very different prospect than his brother Jackson, more of a power-oriented, focused hitter. Similar levels of plate discipline, walkability. Plays shortstop right now, just won a Rollins School glove actually for a high school shortstop. Might be a third baseman at the next level, we'll kind of see, but the bat is going to be the carrying part of the profile here.
So that's a high school player. Last year it was Seaver King out of Wake Forest and Caleb Lomavita out of Cal. Those were the 2 picks for the Washington Nationals. Back to Holliday, if you don't mind. When you're number one and you're number one for a long, long time, what did he do on the high school field at Stillwater High School this spring that kind of cemented your decision?
He kind of did everything that was asked of him, to be honest with you, Darren. He hit it at a high rate. He's always walked, even when he was a 14-year-old. You don't see a lot of 14-year-olds really show that plate discipline, that ability to take walks. You know, a lot of younger kids might find that boring, but he's always walked at a consistently high clip in power. When you're talking about the power with Holliday, you're talking about a potential 35 to 40 home run hitter at a premium defensive position on the left side of the infield, and there's just not a lot of players in this draft specifically, that can offer that kind of upside.
His high school OPS was 2,000. I don't know why anybody pitched to him, and when they did, he Barry Bonds-like hit 16 high school home runs at Stillwater High School. All right, Holliday. Now let's go to number 2. The Angels are in that spot. Here's what's funny about the Angels and unique. Christian Moore last year. Before him, when you look at Shanawell and then Neto, that's basically the infield. They all go right to the big leagues with the Angels. They draft them, they go right to the big leagues. They do have a minor league system. So pick for the Angels, because whoever you pick may be in the big leagues pretty soon.
Yeah, so I don't think this would be I think this might be a guy who might be in the big leagues sooner rather than later, as you had mentioned, but this is going to be Cade Anderson from LSU. The lefty has been kind of fantastic down the stretch throughout their run to the College World Series final. He's shown that he has kind of that top 2 in the rotation upside. The main kind of draws that the Angels have been looking for kind of in these discussions, as you had mentioned, Darren, they're looking for fast movers, guys that can kind of impact the big league ball club right away. That's why I think kind of those upper echelon college players are kind of who the Angels are targeting right now.
He played his travel ball years ago for the East Coast Sox. He was special, and obviously LSU is where he did his developing. The 21-year-old thing, you have to be 21 by the draft, right? When you think about that, because he's only a 2-year player. He turns 21 on July 6th. just in time to jump into that draft. This is a fun one. With only a couple of years of college time, this is a fresh arm. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, he's been, he was their midweek starter last year, put up very good numbers, was a freshman All-American in that regard, and then took that kind of step forward to the Friday night role at a program at LSU that has all kinds of expectations now with Jay Johnson leading the helm there. He's been nothing short of spectacular. And when you kind of compare him to the other top guys in this area, he's shown a willingness to not only show off his stuff, but also go deep into ball games. The 140-pitch complete game against Oklahoma early in the season is one that comes to memory. Through 7 or 8 innings against Arkansas here in the College World Series, he's been very, very good down the stretch, and is, like I kind of mentioned at the top of the show, is absolutely a candidate to go number 1 as well.
High school infielder, college pitcher. You previewed that when you talked about the candidates. And by the way, Mike Trout, 25th overall. That's an interesting first-round pick back in 2009 of the Angels. We now pass the buck to the Mariners, who in 87 spent a couple $100,000 on a kid out of Moeller High School in Cincinnati by the name of Ken Griffey Jr. That was a first-round pick that they talk about a lot. I will give you the floor. Please pick on behalf of the Seattle Mariners at 3.
The Mariners at number 3 are going to go with Corona High School righty Seth Hernandez. The consensus top high school right-handed pitcher in the draft, arguably the top right-handed pitcher in the draft since Hunter Green in 2017. You can have those discussions, those debates, but Seth has been nothing short of fantastic this season for Corona. I believe he let up only 2 earned runs over the course of the entire year. Gatorade National Player of the Year, up to 100 at times, sits comfortably in the upper 90s with 4 pitches. Changeup is his best pitch. It's a potential plus offering. Curveball could be a plus offering. Slider's a good pitch too. He's got checks all the boxes that you would for a high school righty. The only thing kind of holding him down from being potentially the number 1 pick is that a high school righty has never gone number 1. But I didn't mention his name. He's still a candidate at this point to go number 1 as well, and I think that could be kind of out of the box pick if that happens.
He can hit too. He's a really good all-around athlete. Had big numbers with a bat in his hand. Slugged .600 as a high school hitter. Hit a grand slam at last year's Prime Perfect Game 17 UWWBA. That's a gauntlet event if you don't know about it. He was dominating in that event, the MVP of that event. He pitched, he hit a grand slam. What a fun pick that is. We've been able to spend a lot of time with them this year. All right, so you got 2 PG All-Americans. You got a left-handed pitcher out of LSU. And now Tulo, Helton, Story, all fun first-round picks of the Colorado Rockies. At number 4, who do the Rockies go for this year?
The Rockies are going to go with Oregon State shortstop Iva Arquette. And it's funny you mentioned Tulo, Darren, because Tulo is a name that comes up a lot in terms of comparisons to a guy like Arquette. He really is the consensus top college position player on the board as of this time. You're talking about a guy who could stick at shortstop at the next level potentially. He might end up getting too big. That's something we can kind of figure out later. But looking at his kind of 99th percentile outcome, you're talking about a guy who can hit 30-plus home runs at the shortstop position, which is not something you find every day. And for the Rockies, would probably elicit memories of a guy like Troy Tulowitzki.
He's Hawaiian. He went to Washington, went to obviously Oregon State, where this year he had a huge year with 19 home runs, was big in the Cape. And a couple of years back, 3 years back, he was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Hawaii for basketball. That's the kind of athlete he is. Really excited. That's a fun pick. Now at 5, the St. Louis Cardinals. How about this one? Perfect Game All-American Jack Flaherty, world champ, was selected. First-round pick, Cardinals back in 2014. I give you the opportunity to represent Flo, Randy Flores, their scouting director, and pick for St. Louis.
The Cardinals with number 5 are going to go with Eli Willis, shortstop out of Oklahoma. He is the son of Oklahoma associate head coach and former big leaguer Reggie Willis, Jackson is his brother who plays shortstop at Oklahoma. Eli is a very, very talented prospect. He reclassed from the 2026 class, up to 2025. He runs really well. He's a plus runner. He hits. There's a projected plus hit tools profile here. The question with Eli is going to be how much power does he eventually grow into? He is a skinny kid. He is one of the youngest players in this draft. He will be only 17 and a half at time of draft. But there's very good contact skill. There's very good bat to ball. The hit tool and run tool really shine. And some scouts think he can play anywhere up the middle, from shortstop to center field. But there are a lot of fans of Eli Willis.
On July 1st of last year, Perfect Games National Showcase at Chase Field. Most everyone had gone home. It was really late. He hit an inside-the-park grand slam. No one homers in that event, let alone hits an inside the park. He was looking like Corbin Carroll as a Diamondback running around the bases. Willits is a fun one. By the way, Select Festival athlete, so that's exciting. You have Select Festival and All-American. Man, we've gone a bunch of All-Americans into this draft already. That's 3 that have been selected. And so now Connor Griffin last year goes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's a PG darling, certainly. And now the Pirates, they need to do good work. They need to maybe match what they did with a guy like Garrett Cole back in 2011. I give you the floor, Pittsburgh Pirates. Pick somebody good.
The Pirates are going to go with Florida State left-hander Jamie Arnold here. One of the more talented college pitchers remaining on the board. Arnold was very, very good for Florida State this year. Ran the fastball up to 97, 98 at times. Comfortably sits mid-90s from kind of a unicorn, low three-quarter, almost from his hip slot. Low launch fastball. It gets a lot of riding life and gets on top of bats. You're talking about a potential double-plus slider here, up to 88, 87, 88. It's a lot of sweeping action, swing and miss. The changeup's a very good pitch, too. He also developed a cutter this year. Has a history of strike throwing. It's a very unique slot, but he's another kind of college left-hander, kind of in that same Keith Anderson boat, and even Liam Doyle, who we hadn't mentioned yet, but a guy who can move through a system very quickly.
Freshman year, his ERA was a Boeing, 7.77. Then he went 2.98, 2.98. 2 great years. He may move quickly. Mr. Skeens may have a locker mate here in the next couple of years. I like that pick. Florida State left-hander Jamie Arnold. So now at 7, it's the Marlins, and there's such an interesting history. Another darling was P.J. Morlando, last year selected. We have him all over our marketing campaign, and a wonderful athlete as well. He got selected in the first round. There's Yelich, there's the late Jose Fernandez. Those are all fun first-rounders to look back on for the Marlins. Much like a lot of these teams, you need to nail it for them. They need some help in the big leagues. So who do they go for?
The Marlins are going to go with another high schooler here. They're going to go with JoJo Parker out of Mississippi. Perfect game All-American. There's many who believe that JoJo is perhaps the best high school hitter in this draft class in terms of pure hit ability. You're talking every bit of a plus hit tool here with a guy who could play a premium position at shortstop. He's a good runner now. He's an above average runner. He might slow down a little bit as he gets older and ages a little bit, but we're not talking about that right now. He's a 17, 18-year-old. He's been really good this spring. He hit over 500 with 15-plus home runs in Mississippi. Him and his brother both did. He's absolutely a top 10 prospect right now, a top 10 candidate right now, and it looks like he's going to go.
So I got to go with this on that one. What a great pick. This may be for me, and maybe we're geeky about it because we're intimate with this process. This, to me, is the story of the draft. I mean, of all the players you've mentioned, with all due respect to the players you're about to mention, for me, this is the story. He came into last summer ranked around 300, like 275. By the time the summer ended, he was ranked 19th. I don't know how in the world you do that. He's now currently ranked 16th. Is this hyperbole, Vinny, when I tell you, for me, this is kind of the story of the draft? This guy may be the best story.
I think it's absolutely true, Darren. You mentioned it. He went to the national showcase, and he by every metric earned his invitation to the PG All-American game. He was ranked behind his brother, who is another very talented prospect who we might see later in the draft. But what JoJo's done in the last calendar year has been nothing short of fantastic, and he's absolutely earned every right to be a top 10 pick in this class.
Yeah, Bro Jacob is right now at that 35 spot in the PG rankings. He was the MLB Home Run Derby guy. He was the perfect game Home Run Challenge guy, whatever we call it year to year at our Home Run Challenge. But again, they're twin brothers. I buried the lead on that one. They're both out of Mississippi. Dad, an incredible story of perseverance, is paralyzed and is yet a very impactful attorney and now a judge. There's so much good there. Oh, that's the story of the draft for me. Unless you give me another one at 8. You may give me another great dude to talk about at 8. Trey Savage was last year, a pitcher out of East Carolina, and I think pitcher-wise, Roy Halladay may be their greatest number 1 or their greatest first-round pick. Toronto, the late Roy Halladay. I hate saying that, unfortunately. But I'll give you, north of the border, baseball's lone team, and please pick on behalf of the Blue Jays.
So the Blue Jays here will be going with Billy Carlson, shortstop out of California. High school teammates with Seth Hernandez, who went number 3 in this mock draft. Carlson is, by most evaluator standards, the best high school defender in this draft class, and he plays shortstop, which is a good position to play when you want to be a good defender. Every bit of a cannon for an arm. He also pitches up to 95, 96. He's going to be a position player moving forward with the pitching being kind of a back seat. But you're talking about a Gold Glove winner at shortstop in the future. Makes the tough plays, makes the easy plays, makes it all look very easy. There's power in the bat. The hit tool continues to progresses, but you're talking about a guy who could potentially be winning Gold Gloves at short and hit 20 homers in the big leagues.
We haven't even gotten to the commercial break, and you've picked two men off the same high school. Imagine that. Two men off the same high school, Corona High School. For you casual fans, Tennessee commit, by the way, can throw 96 on the mound. He's just a freak athlete. Bobby Witt light, and I mean that with all due respect because he's a different kind of athlete, but the future may come fast for Billy Carlson. There's so much like about it. And if I may, as a preview, look later on in the summer because the Carlson family is going to be nice enough to allow us to go into his home on draft day, and we'll take you behind the scenes. So one of those left-handers is still remaining. Vinny kind of, I think, did this on purpose. Gave us a tease. Look out for these lefties. One of them still out there. Where will he go? He's the passionate man out of Tennessee. We're going to take a quick break. The Reds are on the clock. Cincinnati, get ready. I'm watching very closely the 2025 mock draft. Vinny and Darren, glad you're with us.
With the first pick, he's the number 1 pick in the draft.
Vinny and Darren getting you excited for the MLB Amateur Draft, but it's Vinny that's planning out the future of your team with this mock draft. Vinny, let's go to the Reds. Last year was Chase Burns, former PG All-American. The Reds selected him with the first round. Rhett Lauder the year before has already touched the big leagues just a little bit. That makes it kind of fun. So, the Reds, Cincinnati, what do they do?
Well, you kind of alluded to it before we went to break, Darren, but the Reds are going to select Liam Doyle here. Kind of the last of that number 1 overall group of guys that are considered. You're talking about a guy who has potentially the best fastball in the draft. 94, 98, up to triple digits. Gets over 20 inches of induced vertical from a really unique arm slot. Also a guy who pitches with the fastball around 70% of the time. So a fastball dominant starter. Fiery competitor, has a slider that's a pretty good pitch. Splitter can be plus at times, but it's a fastball heavy profile here. And a unique one in that he doesn't do it pretty sometimes. It doesn't always look like the most perfect delivery, but he gets swings and misses, he competes, and he gets a ton of strikeouts.
Oh my gosh, is he passionate too? I mean, that's kind of steal the headline, like everybody knows the passion on the mound. I'm sure that'll dial back a little bit on a backfield somewhere playing in the minor leagues. But what a fun pick. I'm glad we grabbed him that early. Quick background, he's from New Hampshire. He was born in Boston. He's been to 3 colleges, Ole Miss, Coastal Carolina prior to that. But Vinny and the guys knew him. He was throwing 92 at Jupiter in 2021, so you guys knew about him then. You were watching his journey. Fun one. The Chicago White Sox, Hagen Smith was their selection last year out of Arkansas. Talented pitcher. And again, their most fun selection of all time back in the 80s is Frank Thomas. And that's really fun because we're now seeing Frank Thomas III at Perfect Games Junior National Showcase. All sorts of ties, but now the White Sox. Boy, the Rockies and White Sox. You've already picked for the Rockies. The White Sox really need you to get this one right, Vinny.
White Sox are going to go with Kyson Witherspoon here, right-handed pitcher from Oklahoma. Kind of track record galore here throughout the past calendar year. Pitched for USA, was very good for them. Awesome this year at Oklahoma. He has 5 pitches, likes to use all 5 of them pretty frequently. Fastball will be mostly 96, 98, and he'll kind of hold that velocity for the entirety of the start. Strike throwing is very good here. He's another guy kind of like the previous college arms that we've discussed, a guy that can move very quickly throughout a system.
Yeah, he's a fun one because he's a JUCO bandit. Didn't really have a lot of places to go out of high school. Went to Doug Martin, coach Northwest Florida State. Brother Malachi went along with. Malachi's going to get drafted too at some point. He was in that OU rotation with him. But when he came out of high school, Vinny, you guys had him as a number 428 ranked shortstop in Florida. Talking about using college to develop, what a fun thing this is. I'm glad you called the name of Kyson Witherspoon as we shift to 11 in the A's. Sacramento now, Vegas down the road. Producer Jason calls them the Nomad A's. And again, they're busy, but they're still building a team, and they hope it's successful. As a matter of fact, they picked Nick Kurtz last year. Nick Kurtz already has, 9 home runs in the big leagues this year? And doing big things. So who do they select? And whoever they select, whether they develop a high schooler or a college guy, the A's are going to do big things in Vegas over the next couple of years. Go for it.
Yeah, well, the Nomad A's, as Jason likes to call them, will be taking Gavin Feen here with their selection. High schooler out of California again. Something we've talked about kind of in previous conversations. Very good year in California, specifically for the high school side. Gavin was arguably the best hitter on the summer circuit last year. Throughout his time at the 17U National, WWBA, area codes. a very, very polished hitter, has a good hit tool with sneaky power. There's really good athleticism here. Kind of could fit almost all over the diamond, whether it's shortstop, third base, center field, right field. Has the arm strength to play any position, but really, really good bat, and that's what you're buying here.
So, by the way, a couple of years ago, the A's, it was Jacob Wilson out of Grand Canyon. He's got 100 hits already. He's gone past the 100 hit mark in the big leagues. So they've done some really good work. San Diego's show for Feed, that's a fun mention. I dare say keep an eye on our content. They've been kind enough to allow us to come into their home on draft day and really tell the behind-the-scenes stories. I'm glad you mentioned him. That's a fun one. I'm glad he got picked. We kind of like him here. So now we passed the buck to a team that picked Malcolm Moore out of Stanford, a catcher last year. A perfect game All-American, by the way, Malcolm Moore. The Texas Rangers.
The Rangers are going to go with Steele Hall here. Similar to Eli Willis, Steele Hall was a reclass. He reclassified after Jupiter last October. So scouts were able to get a good look at him at Jupiter. He's a high school shortstop out of Alabama, Hewitt-Trussville. Really, really dynamic athlete, and that's something the Rangers really, really like to target in the draft is not only athletes, but high school athletes. He's twitchy, he can run, he plays with fire, he's kind of a little bit of a powder keg type. Really, really good shortstop defensively, could probably stick there, be an above average plus defender at the position. Has loads and loads of bat speed. A guy that's going to have to develop over the next couple of years, but you're talking about a really, really exciting bunch of tools and athleticism to build off.
I didn't have that one on my bingo card because 1 year ago last summer, he was ranked 161. So he did a lot of climbing. The Rangers, by the way, it's kind of fun. We talked about Moore. Their last 4 draft picks have been PG All-Americans. When you look down, you got Leiter, you got Rocker, and you got Wyatt Langford along with Moore. They've picked PG All-Americans. San Francisco Giants last year have already traded. They've already traded their first-round pick, Mr. Tibbs out of Florida State, Rafi Devers. Mr. Tibbs, part of that big package that goes the other way. James Tibbs is gone. So the San Francisco Giants, who do they select? They've got some fun momentum at the big league level. Who do they select?
The Giants are going to take Ike Irish out of Auburn here. One of the most complete college bats kind of on this side of the board here. Irish is a candidate to go much higher than this. He could absolutely be a top 10 pick. But when you talk about Irish, you're talking about a guy with a very, very polished bat. It's a plus hit tool with above average power. He hits balls extremely hard. The power in home run numbers finally showed up this year. There's real 25 homer potential in the bat. Plays all over the field. He played catcher for the first 2 years at Auburn. He had an injury to his back that kind of forced him off the position this spring, so he played mostly left and right field. He does have arm strength, so he can handle either of those positions well. But he may be a guy where, similar to like a Tyler Soderstrom in the past, where the bat is so good that maybe you don't want to put the stresses of catcher on him.
I like that name. We love him. He's a fun one. He played on that famous Orchard Lake St. Mary's prep. Our good friend Brian Sikowski, part of the coaching staff back then, helping out. Now with Virginia on the coaching staff there. They went 44-0. Brock Porter, who's in the Rangers organization, was on that team. Nolan Schubart, who's hit 59 career home runs at the college level with Oklahoma State. And Alex Mooney, who's in the Guardians organization. I like that pick. That's a famous high school team, and he did great at Auburn. This is a fun one. The Tampa Rays picked Theo Gillen last year, a perfect game All-American out of Austin, Texas. And by the way, at A-ball, he's paying off. He's already got like a 460 on base, give or take, to open the season. That was last year. This is this year. What are the Rays? Everyone listens closely and stops talking when the Rays make any sort of pick.
The Rays are going to go with Merrick Houston here, shortstop out of Wake Forest. Believed to be one of the best defenders on the college side of the draft this year. A slam dunk, no doubt, shortstop. You're talking about a plus glove there. A guy that could potentially win gold gloves. Really took a step forward this year in terms of the offensive profile. There's really good feel to hit. It's kind of a polished hit tool. It's not as much power as you would like, but when you're talking about a guy who could potentially win gold gloves at shortstop, the risk there isn't really too great. He can run, he can throw. He's viewed as kind of a safe college prospect at this point, but he's one that the Rays should be really excited about to get into their depth system.
Well, you scouts are hard to please. 15 homers, 19 stolen bases. I take that as enough power, but I get it. It's going to come on. He was an Ostingers guy back in the day. What a great program Jimmy Osting runs there. So that's a fun pick. I loved writing that one onto my board. Fun first-round picks for the Rays: Longoria, Price, and of course Josh Hamilton. Some fun names to look back through their history. The Boston Red Sox, Braden Montgomery. He's gone. He was traded for Garrett Crochet. He's on a different team now. He's a PG All-American as well out of Texas A&M. The The Red Sox have been all kinds of busy and fun, all kinds of PG prospects coming to the big leagues this year. Who are they going to pick?
They're going to go with Kason Cunningham here, shortstop out of Texas. One of the better hit tools on the high school side of the draft this year, a guy that we've seen since he was 14. He's consistently ranked, has the bat speed, more juice than you would think out of a prospect his size. But the hit tool is very, very good. Might be a second baseman long term, not really a concern right now, but he can run too. When you're talking about a guy that is going to hit his way through the minors and reach the big leagues sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Cunningham, Peachy's number 5 ranked player right now. He was a perfect game owner. I think he was a Select Festival guy too. Jeremy Brown, the great scout and the man who handles the Select Festival, does so much for it. He was a Jackie Robinson Award winner, won that award at the All-American Classic last year. Fun mention there. Red Sox pick, because he's tied to travel ball so much now. I got to mention 1989, the Boston Red Sox first-round pick, Mo Vaughn, now travel ball guy. 300-plus home runs, now a big travel ball guy teaching the game, Mo Vaughn. Love mentioning that. Before we go to break, let's let the Twins go to work. It was Kalen Culpepper last year, the really athletic middle infielder out of Kansas State. Royce Lewis is one of our favorite picks of all time that the Twins made. So with that in mind, is it an athlete? Is it a slugger? Is it a pitcher? Who do the Twins pick?
The Twins are going to go with Jace Laviolette, outfielder from Texas A&M here. Potentially the hardest guy to kind of pin down when it comes to this sort of mock draft exercise, because he was the 1-1 candidate coming into the spring. Numbers kind of faded down the stretch. To me, you're talking about a guy still that could play center field with 30-plus homers, and is that kind of dynamic athlete to stick in center field. He's a leader. He kept that Texas A&M team together into the portal and back out of the portal back when they hired Michael Early as the head coach. It's been a tumultuous year in College Station, but I think Laviolette is still a prospect to really get excited about.
6'6", 235, huge power, 68 home runs in his career. That's a fun pick for the Minnesota Twins. That's not a twitchy athletic guy, nor is it a pitcher. That's a masher. Harmon Killebrew is coming to town in the form of Jace Laviolette. I'm fired up. We're going to take a break. When we come back, there's some great PG All-American dudes left. There's a couple of big arms left, one of whom did something spectacular. I don't know if he's climbed into this first round, though, at the Men's College World Series. Vinny and Darren, this is Perfect Game 2025 Mock Draft.
With the first pick, he's the number 1 pick in the draft.
Go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Hey Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna pick with Vinny next. Was that good? Did you like that, Vinny?
That was great, Darren.
Terrible? That was awful. Pick for the Cubs. I had to do it, though. I don't know. By the way, the Cubs last year, they've traded their draft pick away. Cam Smith is an Astro. They've got Kyle Tucker singing Go Cubs Go. Who do you pick on behalf of Wrigley Field, Wrigleyville, and the Cubs fans, Vinny?
Cubs are going to go with College World Series hero Gage Wood. Fresh off a complete game no-hitter, 19 strikeout performance. He is a guy similar to a Cubs recent first-round pick and recent big leaguer, Cade Horton, in that they really continued to skyrocket as the postseason went on. Wood is a guy who, similar to Liam Doyle, pitches off his fastball a lot of the time and for good reason. It's 96-98 with a ton of ride and carry, induced vertical break, gets a lot of swings and misses. Curveball and slider are pretty good. Changeup is still kind of a work in progress. With the strikes, he fills the zone up and he gets a lot of swing and miss on that fastball.
He threw one complete game in college. It was the one you're talking about, his last start. He only threw 37 innings this year, and he struck out 69. You guys had him 54 on the draft board in late May. Talk about making money in a single day. That's incredible. By the way, my favorite Cubs pick, if I may, Kyle Schwarber, the Schwarbs out of Indiana. He's gone past 300 home runs now. So, Diamondbacks, the studios, right down the street from where Chase Field holds a national showcase. The Arizona Diamondbacks last year, it was Slade Caldwell. They went with Caldwell, high school out of Arkansas, a PG All-American. So that was last year. Years ago, they picked Max Scherzer with a first-round pick. How about that? Did you remember that? Vinny, take over from now. Pick for the D-backs.
Diamondbacks are going to stay with that Arkansas theme we've got going on here, both with last year's pick and pick before just now, and go with Wahiwa Aloy, shortstop out of Arkansas. Really dynamic athlete, took a large step forward this year, both in cutting his chase rate, improving his in-zone rate. You're talking about a shortstop with big power. Hit, I believe, 19 home runs this year. Really good defender at shortstop too. Has the arm to make all the plays. The question is going to be the hit tool. Like I said, he kind of improved his rate numbers, but there still are some concerns there about the swing and miss. But you're talking about a guy who can hit 25 home runs and play the shortstop position, which those guys don't exactly grow on trees.
Hawaiian to Sacramento State, where he was the WAC Freshman of the Year. Then to Arkansas. He kept getting better every year. You're right on those home run totals. 35 all told in his 2 years at Arkansas. Aloy's a fun pick. A really fun pick. Now, the Baltimore Orioles last year out of North Carolina picked Vance Honeycutt. Here's why Honeycutt is fun. For all you youngers out there that may not be playing your freshman or sophomore year of high school, look to Vance Honeycutt. Now, I won't go too long on this, but he played the field his first 2 years of high school, and they DH'd for him. And Vance Honeycutt last year was a first-round pick. That was fun to see. Now, the Orioles go back to work. Please represent them. They kind of surprisingly need some help this year. Who do you pick for Baltimore?
Baltimore's going to go with Brendan Summerhill, outfielder out of Arizona. College performer type category here for a profile. Really hit well on the Cape last year, hit well this year at Arizona. In terms of position, might be left, right, center, kind of not really sure what we're going to play yet, but what we're sure is that the bat's going to play. Can hit to all fields. Some sneaky power to the pull side, might eventually be able to grow into some more. But you're talking about a very polished college bat here with Summerhill.
That's a fun one. As one of the voices of Arizona on ESPN Plus and before with the Pac-12 Network, I watched him grow up, and you're right. The power. I'm glad he jumped into the show. His OPS has gone from 833 to 950 to 1015 over a 3-year span. One of my favorite Oriole picks through the years. How about in 2010? Out of South Florida, Manny Machado. Now a Hall of Famer. That's a pretty good pick, having a Hall of Fame career, to be fair. So now, the Milwaukee Brewers. We were in Braylon Payne's home last year shooting a documentary when the Brewers shocked us and picked him a lot earlier than we thought. So the Brewers go back to work. They're kind of becoming like the Rays. Anytime they pick anyone, the rest of baseball looks, because they seem to be smarter than everyone.
Yeah, and what they're going to do here is pick Gavin Killen out of Tennessee. Killen was probably the most impressive college hitter through the first 8 weeks of the season. Ended up going down with a little bit of a hamstring injury. Came back and DH'd some for Tennessee down the stretch. Ended up playing shortstop for Tennessee down the stretch too. The infield configuration there in Knoxville got a little wonky as the season went on. But you're talking about one of the best college bats in the class, and a college bat that has always made contact, has always crushed balls in the zone, and now this year has finally developed into more power. Hitting balls harder, hitting more home runs to the pull side. Even if this is not a shortstop, which is still kind of to be determined, you're talking about a bat that's going to hit and hit power. And so you're talking about a very offensive-minded second baseman.
He had that same kind of OPS growth that I was just talking about with Summerhill. This is a fun one. 659, then 952, and then this year, 11-12, and I buried the lead just a little bit. I didn't know where Vinny was going to go. That's a cheeser comes home. He's from Wisconsin. He played for that hitters group where a lot of talented players have come through and played there. So a Wisconsinite comes back home. I like that one. He's a perfect game All-American, Killen. First-round picks, years gone by, maybe you've heard of a couple of them. Yount, Molitor, Sheffield. Those are all Brewers' first-round picks. The third one I mentioned should be a Hall of Famer someday. Let's hope. The Houston Astros last year went with Janik, the catcher, out of Sam Houston State. Walker Janik is his name, and they've had some fun ones through the year, like Bregman and Tucker. They were picked in the same first round back in 2015. So who did the Houston Astros go with this year?
The Astros are going to go with Xavier Nyans, high schooler out of Washington. Darren, kind of the common thread you mentioned along those recent Astros first picks, offensive profiles, very offensive profiles, and that's what Xavier has. He walks a lot. He hits for a significant amount of power. Is there some swing and miss? Yes. Is he a shortstop? Maybe not. But what the Astros like is profiles that they can optimize, and Xavier Nyans' peak percentile offensive profile here is a very, very exciting one.
I know it's a good pick when Vinny starts asking himself his own questions. I know Vinny's dialing in when that happens. That's what's going on there. He's an Oregon State commit. According to Vinny, he's not going to make it there. Sorry, all you Beavers fans. You had an incredible year. He did win a state title at Mount Vernon High School, and he played varsity basketball in the winter. So this is a really, really good athlete. We like Xavier Nyans. There's a lot to like about that one. That's a fun pick. The Atlanta Braves picked my neighbor, literally right down the street, Cam Caminetti. I'm here in Scottsdale. He lives a couple of streets down. He's making his way, he's still 18, making his way to A-ball. So Caminetti was last year. Who did they go with this year? It's kind of out of character to go high school-y pitcher. They're going to develop Caminetti. What do they do this year, though?
The Braves this year are going to go with Tyler Bremner, right-handed pitcher out of UC Santa Barbara. Kind of a top 10 pick, top 5 maybe even coming into the year. Struggled to open the year out of the gate. By the time the halfway point hit and down the stretch, he was right back to being the Bremner of old that everybody had seen before. You're talking about a big, durable, workhorse-like frame. A fastball that averages 95 will touch 97, 98 at times with very good bat missing shape and qualities to it. It's a very, very good changeup. A potential double-plus changeup is his primary weapon of getting guys out. There's also the breaking ball that is pretty solid, but you're talking about a guy who's going to pitch in the big leagues and probably eat a lot of innings should he hit his ceiling.
Look at the Gaucho stepping into the room. By the way, that's a pitching factory with Andrew Checketts. That's a fun pick. It's one of the few programs I've ever heard of. If I get this right, Luke Story, I believe is his name. They actually have a pitcher's strength coach focusing only on the pitchers. That is a pitching factory. By the way, my favorite Braves pick overall, first round, how about Chipper? 1-1 back in 1990. How about a Hall of Famer? How about one of the greatest switch hitters of all time? Kansas City seems to get it right a lot. We watched them pick Bobby Witt a couple of years ago. We watched them pick Zach Greinke, and he's a Hall of Famer, what he did a generation back. Last year, they picked Jack Caglione. He's already in the big leagues. They picked him out of Florida. So the Kansas City Royals, before we go to break, are on the clock. Go.
Royals are going to go with Daniel Pierce here, high school shortstop out of Georgia. A guy that has definitely made waves over the last 6 months. Was very good kind of on the circuit last year. Kind of that prototypical body, that athletic profile you look for. Can throw and run. Probably a very good shortstop at the next level. Is going to hit for some power too. A guy that can provide power out of the shortstop position is rare, as we have talked about. But definitely a guy who, at this point, is probably the consensus top guy in the state of Georgia. There's a couple other candidates, but Pierce is probably the most likely to go there.
Wow. I know you gave me Pierce Sutter, all the names I'm going to be looking at, and then you're picking them. But when you gave me that name, that's another one I didn't have my bingo card. Last summer, from 210 to 107 to 69 in the rankings last summer. Well, you guys have him inside the top 20 now. Team Elite, his travel team, parents are educators, Houston, Georgia, which is northeast of Atlanta. You got to drive for a little bit and get out of town. Mill Creek High School, that's a fun one. That's a real fun one. That's a surprise. And now we're getting into the point in this show, near the end of that first round, and a couple that don't have picks that we'll pick for them, where we may have more surprises. This is a lot of fun so far. Daniel Pierce, we just made your dreams come true on the mock draft. Vinny, good stuff. More to more.
With the first pick, he's the #1 pick in the draft.
Vinny and Darren mocking it up. Really, Vinny's doing all the work. I'm just pulling the names together and telling you a few tidbits about him for the 2025 draft. Vinny, here's what's fun about the Tigers. They kind of go to the PG platform. The players do the work. PG just provides the platform. We're very knowledgeable about that, but Riley Green back in 2019, PG All-American. Max Clark, he's everywhere on social media and on the field, 2023. McGonigal before that, Kevin McGonigal, a pure bat, 2022. Those are all high school guys, PG All-American guys. And last year was Bryce Rayner, a high school guy and a PG All-American guy. Gone are the days of Justin Verlander being picked by the Detroit Tigers. That's what they've gone with. So the Detroit Tigers, as we come back out of break, they go to work. They're the great story of baseball in the big leagues this year. Who are they building with in this draft?
Well, Darren, the Tigers are going to go with another high school guy here, Josh Hammond out of North Carolina. Wesleyan Christian Academy there. Very, very offensive profile here. You're talking about a guy who's probably a third baseman at the next level, but has a good combination of hit and power tools. Has every bit of plus to double plus raw power. A lot of that shows up in the game. The bat speed is real. The physicality is real. Also pitches. He's been up to 98 this spring with the sweeping breaking ball as well. Teams at this point, I think, view him more as an offensive profile, and one that offensive profile has a chance to go in the first round.
That's a fun one. Hammond, super athletic. We've been seeing that for years. On the outside, you guys see it by scouting him all the time. You're right. He did that at High School Showdown, nearly touching 100 miles an hour as a pitcher. Fun one. He's out of High Point, North Carolina. A little bit about him. And now we move to 25, the San Diego Padres. Last year, Kind of a shocking name for me anyway. You weren't surprised when Cash Mayfield out of high school in Oklahoma was the first-round pick of the San Diego Padres. Remember this? The San Diego Padres go back about a decade, 11 years ago. Their 13th overall pick, Trey Turner. Would you have gotten that one right if a beer was on the line for it? Trey Turner. He's moved around. He obviously is where he is. So now the San Diego Padres are on the clock. They're always unique and creative.
The Padres are going to go with Sean Gamble here out of IMG Academy. Really, really dynamic athlete, dynamic high school prospect. I'm talking about left-handed athleticism, left-handed bat speed. Played second base this spring for IMG. Scouts think he can play shortstop or center field. He's a plus runner. You're really talking about a projectable left-handed bat that has all the athleticism and bat speed benchmarks that you're looking for, kind of as he continues to develop, get stronger, and add some more power.
Gamble's kind of a famous prospect if you're a fringe fan of the sport at the amateur level. He's been famous 2 times, that Perfect Game Select Festival, PG All-American. He's an Iowa native. This company was born in Iowa a long, long time ago, so proud of that. Certainly he is at IMG. He's a Vandy commit, and Vinnie makes it clear he's not making it there, so he's going to get picked, and on his way he goes. Now, the Phillies, the Philadelphia Phillies, our producer Jason Jaquette, is sitting on the edge of his seat, seeing who you might select on behalf of his team. Last year was Dante Nori, Michigander, a speedster, 6'1", 60, out of high school in Michigan. A couple of years ago was Justin Crawford, who's almost in the big leagues now. He has been incredible, making his way up the rank with the Philadelphia Phillies. So this year, who do the Phillies pick?
Phillies are going to take another high school speedster here with Slater DeBrun, Pacific Northwest outfielder. Going to play center field, every bit of a plus runner. Really, really good bat to ball, performed on the circuit throughout every stop there. Kind of your prototypical leadoff hitter, and does so with impact. Hits balls all over the field and hits them very hard. Easy to see kind of that transitioning into more usable game power, home run power as he continues to develop. Every bit of a strong leadoff hitter who can play center field and run.
Tim Corbin's excited you're taking another player from him, another Vanderbilt commit that Vinny's taking in the draft. We'll see how it plays out. Kind of a Corbin Carroll fan, and there are some similarities. At least I've learned that from Vinny and his team. He learned a lot from Corbin, another Northwest guy. This is a player out of the great Northwest, Bend, Oregon. The Cleveland Guardians were 1-1 last year, and Travis Bazzana was their selection. They go to work. For me, I got to go way back in time. Work with me here, folks. Manny Ramirez, 13th overall pick out of high school in New York. So who do the Guardians pick this year?
Guardians are going to go with Andrew Fisher out of Tennessee here. When you think of the Guardians' recent first-round picks, he doesn't necessarily line up with what Cleveland likes to do in some respects. But Fisher, I think, is a very, very safe offensive profile, a very exciting offensive profile. He walks more than anybody else at the Division I level. He hit 20-plus home runs this year. He played first base for Tennessee this year. Some scouts think he could play third base as well. To me, it doesn't really matter because you're going to get a guy who's going to walk a ton. He's going to hit for a ton of power, and he really, really controls the zone. He doesn't swing at balls outside of the zone, and anything in the zone, he crushes.
He did something really interesting, and to me, it's what makes it unique, and it's hard to do. So they played 65 games this year at Tennessee when it was all said and done. He reached safely in every one of them, and that's to your point about that eye. Like, reached safely in every single one of them, and by the way, you two-sport people, he was a high school wrestler, and a pretty darn good one. I like that pick, Andrew Fisher. Now the Royals get to go again. They go again. They get to have fun at our party, our draft party. It's the prospect promotion pick, part of that development and working agreement with the union and with MLB. They put that in the last agreement to reward teams for picking well, and Bobby Witt, top 3 in the MVP. So the Royals get to go again. What do they do with pick number 28?
The Royals here are going to go with Clemson outfielder Cam Cannarella. Cannarella is certainly an interesting prospect. Came into the year kind of as a top 10 pick. Numbers didn't quite line up with that. Really, really polished hit tool. A guy can hit balls all over the field, makes a lot of contact, can run, play center field. Has the potential to be every bit of a Gold Glove outfielder in center field. Has made some highlight reel catches that you won't ever forget if you see them. But a guy that stock has kind of moved up and down kind of as the spring has gone on. Scouts really like his ability to make contact and his ability to play defense center field.
Okay, that's a fun one with the Royals. You think back on their drafts. This is twice we've talked about him. but the kind of the Alex Gordon, Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas run 05 through 08, where they picked them all. Those are all first rounders. I'm only mentioning first rounders. And then they won it all in 2015, building and continuing to build the Kansas City Royals. So there's comp pick, compensation pick. And we're not going to go through all those if you don't mind. But what I'd like to do is have you represent the teams without first round picks and the teams that will select at 38, 39, and 40. The New York Mets last year selected Carson Bench out of Oklahoma State. A couple of years ago, they selected Pete Crow Armstrong. He's now a Cub. They've had some fun picks over the years. Of course, in the 80s, Strawberry, Gooden, those were both first-round picks. So rep the Mets, if you don't mind, at 38.
Mets are going to go with Patrick Forbes here, right-handed pitcher at Louisville. The Mets in recent years have actually kind of transformed their player dev department, and their pitching dev now is regarded as one of the better across the entire sport. Forbes is exactly the kind of guy you want to get into a really, really good pitching dev. Fastball up to 98, really, really good athlete on the mound. Slider is his best secondary pitch, plus slider. But he's kind of a two-pitch guy right now. Changeup is still a work in progress. The control and command is still a work in progress. He's had inconsistent outings, but in terms of the arm talent and the athlete here, the upside here is immense if a pro team can limit to play.
I got to go with this, by the way, you folks. You wonder how busy scouts are. They're going from like the UBC in West Palm Beach. They're doing the final rankings of the college baseball team. They're not going to waste time saying the word development. They're just going to say depth. That's when you know you're dealing with a good scout who knows his stuff, and that's what went on there. I love it. So the New York Yankees, Ben Hess, pitcher out of Alabama, was their pick last year. They've had some fun ones. George Lombard Jr. a couple of years ago, to say it a little more slowly, has been doing great things this year. His on base is around 400. He's knocking on the doors to the big leagues at Double-A. So the Yankees go at 39, and on behalf of them, the great team from New York City, who do you pick?
The Yankees are going to go with Jaden Fauske here out of Illinois, high school left-handed hitter. Fun little tidbit in our notes. I actually put kind of outfield question mark in our position there because he can kind of play everywhere. He's caught. He's played right field. He's played center field. He's played the infield. But the one thing that scouts are in agreement on is how much they like to bat and the athlete. It's a left-handed hitter with hit and power projection there. Like I had mentioned, can play all over the diamond. Probably profiles into being an outfielder at the next level, but a guy that consistently comes up as a scout's favorite and a guy that's going to go sooner than a lot of people think. If the Yankees can somehow get him down here or push him down here, they're going to be super excited again.
That's a fun one. He's an LSU commit. He was Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Illinois. He goes at 39 in your mock draft. A lot of reverence here, folks. Let's respect the world champions, okay? Understand what they've accomplished. All the injuries they've had this year, they're still right there. No matter what the Padres and Giants fans and that Hunter Pence will tell you. Vinny is going to represent the Dodgers. One of my favorite picks back in 2016, 32nd pick overall, catcher Will Smith. So please, do good by us, Vinny. Represent the Dodgers.
Dodgers are going to go with Quentin Young here. Hometown kid, had a really, really awesome spring. Hit the ball a lot more consistently, hit the ball for power. Power is the selling point here, the power in the athlete. He can play anywhere from shortstop to third base to center field to right field. He has a cannon of an arm. It's an easy plus to double plus arm. A guy that I think will continue to get into a really good rhythm and kind of carry the momentum of the spring. He improves his chase rates and in zones, hitting the ball more frequently, harder and more frequently, and a guy that I think once he gets into the Dodgers dev system can really, really take off with how good they develop guys.
Couple of things. There's Deb again, and you understand that. The other thing is we've had the invite to be with his mom, grandfather, and hopefully both uncles will be there. I'm glad you picked him. Dodgers are happy about that one. We'll be in his home on draft day, just outside of Los Angeles in Camarillo, California. There's a lot of big names, man, that you introduced us through the years, I should say. And we meet them through your eyes as a scout. Some of them didn't get picked in this mock draft, so give me a couple of regrets. Guys you just couldn't find room for that you really wanted to add.
Yeah, so we'll start off here with high school shortstop Dax Kilby out of Georgia, Noonan, Georgia. A personal favorite of mine, MVP of the PGL American Classic last year. Dynamic athlete, one that really, really hits. Projectable frame, 6'2", 6'3", lots of room to fill, can run now, plus runner. Might move off shortstop. Some scouts think he can play center. a guy that I really, really like, and I think a guy that has a chance to go kind of in this first round range. Caden Bodine out of Coastal Carolina is another one. A guy that really did well for himself in the postseason with Coastal's run to the College World Series finals here. Does not swing and miss in the strike zone, does not swing and miss basically ever. A very, very polished hit tool, a good receiver behind the plate, a catcher who's going to catch long term and hit long term. The final guy I'll mention is Cruz Schoolcraft, two-way player out of the Pacific Northwest, left-handed pitcher who's been up to 97, 98, a 6'8" guy, repeats the delivery really, really well. Changeup over slider, does throw both. Fastball's very good. A left-handed hitter with monster power from the left side too. A two-way guy that could potentially do both at the college level if he gets there. But all three of those guys, I would say, are absolutely candidates to go in the top 30 to 35 picks.
We love Schoolcraft. He Select Festival athlete, good family, Oregon Gatorade Player of the Year. Those are fun names. All right, before we say goodbye, incredible work. I mean, this has been so much fun to research with you. You gave me the names of the candidates at least. This is our honor to kind of get inside your head and for baseball fans to geek out. Just give me one shocker, one headline that we didn't see coming that, you know, the rags that you're selling down at the newsstands would slap right there on the top. Give me one big headline that we didn't get to.
I think one big headline here is the potential for high school shortstops. We talked about this in the draft 2 years ago. There's plenty of guys that I didn't even get to in my regrets. High school shortstops that I've been getting told, like, hey, this guy's got buzz. Hey, this guy's got buzz. Guys like Jordan Yost out of Florida, Cooper Fleming out of California, Josh Owens out of Tennessee. Guys that potentially could be top 40 picks. So when we're talking about a draft class as recently as 2023 that had, I believe it was 12 or 13 high school shortstops go in the first round, you're talking about a draft class here in 25 that is the strength of the class. So it wouldn't surprise me to see double-digit high school shortstops picked in the first round.
Boom. My big one, if I'm allowed, I don't know if I'm allowed. New York-based Miguel Cime. I'm curious to see where he goes. It was 2 years ago. He was throwing 99 as an underclassman. He had a big spring. You know, he's a guy who has a great college option, obviously. I'm curious to see where he goes as well. Thank you, Vinny. We really appreciate it, man. This is always fun.
Thanks, Darren. Super happy to be on.
And don't forget, check out Perfect Game social media. If you take the social following that we have in our world, we'd be like sixth in Major League Baseball. So proud of our social media team and Vinny's team as they partner together for a brand new big board. Vinny's going to second guess himself, and you're going to get a brand new big board, and you'll see it. You can also find it on perfectgame.org. On behalf of Jason and Malcolm putting this thing together, Chad, who does an incredible job building this show, and our entire PG Media team, thanks for hanging out with us. The 2025 mock draft is in the books. Who did your team pick? What would you have done different?